Oh, there we go. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Cleric Corner. My name is Riker. Here we talk about all things Dungeons & Dragons, tapping into our higher powers to create worlds more unique and stories more impactful. I think I had started a little bit early there. I can never get these things right, but... Ooh, I'm looking at my camera. It looks like I got a little sun. That's good. I need some vitamin D as much as I possibly can. Hello, who do we have in the chat? We got Wizards Forge. Hello? Let's go. I see that you in the countdown for 10 minutes. Way to be here. Way to be here. Rolling crits. Hello there. Guys, I'm a little excited today. What we have today, it came from a comment on my last video from Flute's Loot, another YouTube channel. So shout out to you. But he was like, hey, this video is pretty cool. It was a video about a certain roll table and explorations of world building, including like government and planet and biome and genre. And he was like, well, I need to see this in action. Because I did a little bit at the end where I basically randomized rolled a bunch of different things for this world and then combined them together to make a unique campaign setting that's never been seen before, right? And that's kind of the goal today, is to roll randomly with you guys on a roll table that I have here in one of my recent magazines. And this magazine is something that, it came out like, this was the August issue, I think? Yeah, August issue, so a couple months ago. But I'm going to show you guys this part of it, and we're going to do it together and come up with some fun things and possibly some creative processes that we can work together and figure out how some stuff work to make some fun ideas. So that's what we're doing today. Before we get started, obviously you have to do a big shout out to my wonderful patrons with Cleric. Yep, there we go, this hand. With Cleric being Scott Burns, Acolytes, Kaleidoscope and Weaver Atropos, and Disciples, Christian Roberts, Ryan Ramirez, Christopher Byram, Melkadil, Christopher Olson, and Joseph Rogers. Thank you so much. Your support as my patrons do wonderful to me, and these are the guys who are the people that have seen this magazine months ago when it came out, and has been using it ever since, and has also seen the Adventures in Space that we did this month, and we'll be getting their issue next month. At the beginning of next month as we go into the spooky October. So we got some fun things planned for that one as well. But thank you again so much. If you do want to be a patron and support me in that way, help me make more videos like this one, then that is linked in the description. So let's see. Let's get started though. We got you guys kill me with these names. Oniminakui. Hello. You got great content. I look forward to your videos. Thank you so much. That's very nice. Benjamite. Hello. And then James with a wave. Hey guys, welcome. Okay, so with this one, I will be asking you guys for your help, right? So, the first time around, maybe we'll just kind of go through it and make sure that everyone's on the same page. But this will be a collaborative effort in creating a campaign setting, right? So let's just get into it, and then you guys might be seeing what I am talking about. Okay, so here in the magazine, there's a portion for Dungeon Masters or GMs, because of Dungeon Master is an OGL thing, and the D&D just apparently has that and doesn't allow everyone to use it outside of D&D products. So, but the GM inspiration for you, this is a world building randomizer, and that's what we're going to do. So, first thing, we look at genre. If you've seen the video before, we look at certain aspects of your world and how we can kind of twist it to be a little bit more unique. So, I should mention also that if you have a question throughout all of this, please put question in all caps. Please put question in all caps. If I go to, I realize that I put it in the chatting, so like down in this corner, it's that's how you position your question, that's how you type it. So question in all caps and then your question, that way I can see it in chat. I realize I should have probably put it somewhere in this screen too, but I'll get that next time. But do that, and then I can put it out in the chat. But then, obviously, if you super chat, then I'll be able to pick it out as well and give you a little bit more time and commitment to those questions, because obviously you paid for those answers. So, okay. So, genre. What we're going to do, it is a D12. So, we pick up the D12, and we roll it. So, here we have a 9. So number 9 on it is a Western. So our first campaign will be in a Western. Let's see here. Oh, did I do this wrong again? Here, I'll just write it down. I'll just write it down. Will be a... let's do this. Let's do this, guys. Because I have something here. Can I move this? Yeah? Okay, okay. So, Western. Okay, we're going to make this a little bit more visual, so we're going to put this here in the corner, okay? So we got Western. That looks so good. Okay, here we go. We got this. We got a Western. Then we move down to a genre. This is something a little bit more specific. So here's the kind of the challenge here. Because whenever you think of ideas, our first go-to sometimes is, well, this won't work. Or these two things can't really come together in a meshy way, right? But a principle of improv is you always say yes and instead of it can't, ask yourself how can it, right? So sometimes we might look at a Western and realize that, oh, a Western and a cyberpunk can't fit together. They're two different things. But then if you ask yourself instead, like, how can it, you might find a really unique setting of a super high-tech Western that is set in the future, but with lasers instead of pistols, right? So that's kind of what we're getting at here, is combining different things to create a unique other thing, right? So here we have a couple questions. Question, hi, Cleric, how are you? It's James, hello. I started that channel. Hi, Cleric, how are you? It's James, I started that channel. You started what channel? Wizard's Forge? Is it you have a channel? Sorry, I don't understand your question. Excuse me. Silix Jixalo, hello. Question, I love to do handouts, but haven't found languages, so instead I've done different fonts representing different languages. Any advice for handouts? Like what you hand out, or handouts for languages? They actually, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but they actually have like every single language for all of the like D&D-esque, like Elven, Draconic, Dwarvish, all of those things. They have those online. They have the characters, they have the translations. I think they even have translators, so you could type in a word for a dwarven thing, like something, let's say like house, and then if you put in house, then it gives you the dwarven word for house, that kind of thing. And then as far as handouts go, I would make it as, just to answer your question really quick, and then we can back to this, I would just make it as real as possible. Like put it in an envelope. Take your lighter and light the edges and put it in coffee to make it look really old. And that goes a long way for your players. Question, remember James Deming 2018 from a couple months ago? This is the channel I created for TTRPG stuff. Great. I mean, if you got a channel, that's great, man. That's awesome. If it was a couple months ago, I don't remember. I'm sorry. But if you got one, awesome. And I'm sure I'll see more of you. So, genre, let's go ahead and roll for that. We're going to roll a d20 this time. And that's a 17. A 17. So we got Splatterpunk. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, so Splatterpunk, for those of you who don't know, it's basically a horror aesthetic, except it goes into more of like grotesque things, like body horror. You would find a lot of people with like piercings that stretch their skin and slits that stay open on purpose. That basically horror or things of a horror nature are fashion in a lot of ways. You see piercings, and you see black leather, you see dismemberment, you see a lot of these things not only in the horror department, but it's just kind of ingrained into society in a way. So a Western Splatterpunk would be a very, very interesting campaign. And of course, that's one that you got to talk with your players to see if that's something that they actually want to explore, because it can be a little grotesque and unnerving sometimes. So that's cool. So as far as that goes, we know our setting, we know kind of the theme that we're going for. So kind of a Western horror, a Western with leathers and piercings. So Gothic Western. So then we look at the world, kind of where this genre and where this story is being facilitated, where it is in the world, right? Then we go to the D8. Which one's a... I always forget. I always mix up the D8 and the D10. They always look so similar. And then we have a 2. So we have a supercontinent. So kind of like a Pangea of sorts. So there's no escaping over waters or no reason to go on the waters. There's really no islands or anything else out there. It's just this Pangea. And so that makes it interesting in a world where the character's kind of limited to this one place. So it gives us kind of an idea of where we're kind of set at, which is nice. Cool. yeah, rolling crits. A Western body horror. Yeah, fun start. Yeah, that's a great start. Then we have I mean, even now, like a Western splatterpunk is almost kind of like Mad Max. A Mad Max, of course, is a punkalypse, right? But they do have some body horror elements in it that are kind of reminiscent of splatterpunk. So we can use that as inspiration going forward. And then our biome. So if this is an option if we want to make the entire continent a single biome, or if we wanted to populate different areas of it. Being a Western, we're kind of saying like, oh, it's probably just a desert, right? But again, here's where I stop you, is we're doing yes and. We're not saying this won't work or we shouldn't. We're saying what if, right? So let's see what we can get. And of course, if we really don't like it, we don't have to keep it. But rolling another d20, we get a 15. So a 15, we have a tropical Western, a tropical splatterpunk Western. So you have to think about, maybe I'll help with, or maybe I'll ask you guys for help as well. In this setting, how is that different from a Western in the desert? There's a lot more places to hide, a lot more places to travel, or it's more difficult to travel from place to place. So maybe the Western in the jungle is a place where the cities and towns really aren't that far apart. And that there isn't a struggle for water as there might be in a Western desert, and there might be other resources that is hard pressed to be found, right? And maybe that could be leather. I don't know. The black leather that they wear. It could be the precious metals that they are using for piercings. Things like that would be interesting. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Well, we'll play with that. We'll see. Let me fill this. I've been not great on putting this in the chat. Splatterpunk. Okay, here we go. Oh, why does it... Can I align right? Yes. Perfect. Splatterpunk, and then we have a Pangea in a tropical. Cool. Let's move that out a bit. Cool. So with that, we go on to the next one. So far, so good, guys. Dagger Mouse, hello. Welcome to the chat. We are in the process of creating a world. And you can see kind of in the top corner, up in the right corner, we have kind of what we're working with so far. We got a Western, splatterpunk, Pangea in a tropical setting. So we're combining all of these elements together to create a world. So next we're going to look at world age, where the world age can be dependent on where in our setting or where in the world time-wise we are set. And you can kind of see the options here. So we're going to roll a d6, and we're going to be a 5. Oh, shoot. Oh, shoot. Okay, so at a Humanopolis, we're getting all the big words today, guys. Humanopolis, for those who don't know, is a city that expands the entire planet, essentially. And in this case, if we only have like one Pangea, it's a city that goes across the entire Pangea. So this Western is in a city-wide, or a planet-wide city that's also in the jungle. Pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So not only are we having a Western-esque feel, but we're also in a dense jungle in dense city. So a dense city jungle. We could even got to add a little solar punk in there, where the city and the jungle is kind of one and the same. That would be interesting. Or the Ecumenopolis kind of leaning into that splatterpunk is that the city itself is so toxic that it is warping the plants and animals into more grotesque things, right? That are opening wounds and sores on these animals, and it's part of the culture in a lot of ways, right? Where I think Roland Crit said that, where your kind of wealth is worn on your face. Maybe some of that is wearing some of the skins and the things of these rotted animals or plants. Interesting building this out. Here's another optional. We can look at the weather if we want to see like how maybe the weather interacts in this world. We rolled a 3, so it's unnatural or irregular. Also makes sense within Ecumenopolis. Maybe some of the smog or some of the emissions have affected the weather in a lot of ways, and it becomes unpredictable. And the players might have to, in the middle of a fight, a storm rolls through, acid rain, they need to get out of there or be subject to it. That would be really interesting. This is also kind of a fun thing as well. So with the with this next part, we can roll how many suns we have, how many moons we have, and how many planets are in our solar system. I don't think that we'll be playing outside of that, like in a Spelljammer type thing. But just so that we know what is above us, we can roll a 1d4 minus 1 to see how many suns we have. So we have a 3, so we have 2 suns. So our solar system has 2 suns that are orbiting each other. That's pretty cool. And then a d12 minus 1 to determine how many moons our planet has. Real quick. 11 minus 1, 10. So we have 10 moons that we can see in our solar system. And then a d20 minus 1. How many planets are in the solar system? We have 17. We have 17 planets in our solar system. So, of course, if our planets are far away, we might not see those as kind of just stars in the sky. Debatable if we know about them or not. And then as a bonus question, again, this is kind of fun. We get to play with some colors. So if we want our atmosphere to look different, if we want our plants to look different, if we want the rocks and sands of our beaches to look kind of different, this is kind of where we go. To add a kind of a unique atmosphere and color to the plane itself. So let's roll for an atmosphere just to see. And we get a 1, so we have a red atmosphere. That's dope. It's like a blood red, which also adds to the splatterpunk setting. Then we have, as plants, we have a green. So a normal green plants, which is great. And then why not look at the rocks? But the color of most of the rocks here are also green. We have a lot of green rocks. Possibly from like sludge that we have from the Ecumenopolis. Creating these rocks kind of ourselves. Maybe more crystalline in nature. These could be maybe used as the bullets that we use in our guns. That'd be kind of interesting. Or as the charging things for our pistols, like our laser pistols. Kind of like Star Wars for your lightsabers, but for your pistols. Of course, you could implement lightsabers if you really wanted to. Okay. So, planes of existence. Now, this is another one that is kind of interchangeable with the one up here with the biome and genre and things like that. This is here to say, like, if you wanted to play it in another plane, right? I don't think we might be, I don't think we'll use this, but we'll see what happens if we roll it, and if we can work it in, then great. So a D10. Let's see, D10. Woo, lost the dice. We have a 3. So we have the elemental planes. That's interesting. An elemental plane. So a jungle on the elemental planes. And the elemental planes are fire, water, earth, and air. Fire, water, earth, and air. So a Pangea might not really fit in an air one. We can roll it getting down here on the planes if we really wanted to. Oh shoot! You gotta remind me. I have not. I need to keep up with this, with the text here. So we have Ecumenopolis, unnatural weather. I'm not really gonna put in the weather, but I will do red atmosphere. and green earth. Cool. And going back to the ethereal planes. Oh, where'd my mouse go? There it is. I'm a mess, guys. There we go. With this, I don't think that it'll fit. Maybe the earth plane, but again, there's a lot of plants here. But I like that what we had with the red atmosphere and the plants being as they are, and the Cumulonimbus that we have. So we're gonna skip this one. We're gonna skip this one. Society, how the government works. This is gonna be really interesting. James thinks Coruscant from Star Wars. Ooh, that's another good inspiration for sure. For sure. Patricius, the human fighter, 10 Moons, brother. I cannot tell you if that would be tidally stable or unstable. No, it might not be. They could be far enough away that it doesn't matter, or it could be all over the place. But again, we're in Pangaea, like a landlocked place, so we might not even be close to the edges of the water to even worry about the tides. Or it could be, and that could be something that you could really implement in your campaign. So I like your thinking. Yeah, rolling crits. They even made the atmosphere mess they were setting. Maybe it was on purpose. Maybe it was on purpose. Maybe they made the sky, because it's a Cumulonimbus, because they're kind of futuristic, they developed a technology to kind of pattern the world after their own aesthetic. That's what they did with the plants. It's kind of what they did with the air. That's really cool. That's really cool. Good job, guys. Oh, goodness. This is kind of fun. Not kind of. This is fun. I really enjoy this. Okay, society. A D12 for the government. A 4. Perfect. Perfect. We got the cyberocracy. This is wonderful because a cyberocracy is a government run on AI, which is awesome. So the person in charge isn't an individual. It's not a person. It's not a group. It's not a anything but you know what I'm talking about. It's an artificial intelligence. It's a computer. And they're running the shots. They're writing the rules. They decide who lives or dies, right? So if we're in a Western with a cyberocracy, maybe a part of a punishment is setting this, basically saying this person is to be hunted down. They're the ones that put up the wanted posters all over town. And they decide under some computer algorithm on who lives or dies. These people might not even be guilty. Ooh, what's the movie? It's not. Is it Minority Report? No, it's with Tom Cruise, and it's where they can kind of see a crime before it happens, and then they go and stop the crime before they even know that they're going to commit it. What is that movie? I know someone in the chat's gonna yell it out, and I'm gonna wait for that. But yeah, it's something that you can implement here, and I think would be kind of cool with the aesthetic as well. Hamlet 817 question: how can we get access to this document? Great question. Every month, all my Patreon members, if you support me on Patreon, you get these automatically. You just get them, and then but they will show up on my website. And both my website and my Patreon is linked below. So you can either get it on my website or you can get them through my Patreon, either way. And of course, both support me, but obviously my Patreon members get a lot more than just this. So I have to say, hey, go to my Patreon and sign up for my Patreon. Says Robert, Groenwald and Cumulonimbus doesn't necessarily have to be futuristic. You are absolutely right. Plane of Ravnica from Magic the Gathering is a Cumulonimbus. Yeah. It doesn't have to be. Absolutely not. In this campaign that I'm kind of visualizing, I like the idea of it being futuristic. But heck, you guys can take any of these prompts and make it your own. If you guys see Western, a Cumulonimbus, Pangaea, tropical, red atmosphere, green earth, you see all that and you think of something completely different, heck yeah, do that. This is just a thinking exercise, essentially, right? Okay, yeah, Wizards Forge question. Make sure the question is in all caps and then your question. But I kicked it out. My family wants to hang out after the stream ends. Can I watch this later on demand? Absolutely. I got a whole playlist of all of my live streams on my channel. So you can check that out absolutely after this. Absolutely. Okay, cool. So cyberocracy putting up wanted posters. I love it. So here's the economy. Traditional command central free market. Something that you can worry about if you really want to. Something that I personally don't implement a lot in my campaigns, but we can roll for it, see if we want to implement it. We have a 4 free market regulated by self-interest. So, a lot like capitalism, things like that. So it's a capitalistic society. Pretty cool. Again, wearing money on your faces, it's a big byproduct of maybe capitalism. So I could see that happening. So culture focus. So a lot of the culture in a society is based on a few different things. And these are some examples. And this can translate into things like art, like theater, like the architecture, like what they put in their food, or how they go about things in a society. So, for example, we'll roll on it with the D12, and we'll roll a 7. So, the arts. The arts also fits wonderful in this setting because, again, kind of like what Roland said at the beginning. I think it was Roland, but this splatterpunk aesthetic is more of an art form, right? The horror and the scariness of it is the art and its self-expression, right? And so with this culture surrounding the arts, maybe that's something that your computer puts in the algorithm, where if someone isn't contributing to the art or to the culture, or isn't expressing themselves in a way that is adjacent to the culture at hand, then they themselves are hunted down, or they themselves are punished for those things. Because the arts is something that they cherish on top of anything, right? Being in a being a Pangea, they're all being in one section, being one place. They might have like a peace. They're not really at war with anyone else. There's only one solid community or one solid nation. And because they've expanded past war, and I'm saying that this could be what is happening. They expanded past war through their technology, a AI that prevents it. They instead focus on the arts, and that's a form of self-expression. That's a form of of monetary value. And if they aren't expressed in that way, if they aren't part of this society or hold themselves a certain way, they are punished for that. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Matt CC, as a new DM, welcome to the chat, by the way, Matt C. As a new DM, this will come in clutch with my Spelljammer campaign. Yes. No lack of ideas, but it's nice to have a jumping off point. This in companionship with the Spelljammer issue. So this one was the August issue, and then the September issue is Adventures in Space. It has a similar yet different roll table for wild space systems and planets within those, and things that you encounter through space, which is also nice. So pick that up as well. Rolling crits. LO, the computer overlords destroy those that don't fit the aesthetic. Exactly. And that's such a fun dynamic that you don't normally play with as a D&D group. Normally you do play with war. No. In this sense, war is non-existent, and now you're playing with the community of arts and aesthetic and fitting in. That's a cool thing to explore. Okay. Many races populate this. This is one that you again, an optional one. If you want to include all of them, you absolutely can. If there's certain areas where you might want to populate one or the other, great. Just for example purposes, we're going to be rolling on the table. So what we have is a D100 list, and we're going to roll 4 times just to see which 4 creatures are probably the most prevalent in this society. Just to see. Okay? So first we have 99. Nice. So we have monkey folk, right? So for OGL purposes, these are Hadazee, right? The Hadazee. So we have monkey folk here. Then we have 23. We have sea elves. So maybe we are next to the ocean and we have to worry about tidal forces. Pretty cool. Okay, so 2 more. We have 38 tieflings. Tieflings are excellent in fitting this aesthetic as well. Maybe they're the ones kind of heading society or in charge of the AI or created the AI. And maybe the tieflings have created this aesthetic and maybe they're kind of higher up. 76. Lastly, we have turtle folk. So turtle folk are also here. Also, maybe fitting in with the sea elf. So maybe we do have more than one kingdom, and the sea elf and the turtles are from some offshore place that have kind of merged in with the water, or merged in from this oceanic civilization to the place that we have here. So again, missing out on the the type here, or letting you guys know what we have. Cyberocracy, and then culture of arts, and then we have Tieflings. Oops. Hadozi. Turtle folk. Oh, let's just say turtle. Turtle. And sea elf. Cool. There you go. So sea elves and turtle folk able to live through the dramatic tides caused by the 10 moons. The monkey folk living in the crazy jungle, and the tiefling beings edgelords. Guys, it is all coming together. Guys, anyone want to play this? Anyone want to play this in one? Body horror terror turtles. Yeah. Ooh, guys, let's think about this for a second. Let's think about this. We have tieflings that have their, and we're talking about body horror, so if this bothers you, like, sign off or skip ahead if you're watching this later. But tieflings with their horns chopped off, and to the point, if you guys have ever kind of clipped a horseshoe, you gotta be careful not to clip too far down, otherwise you'll hit nerves and it'll bleed. So that's on most horned or hoofed animals, right? If you shave a horn too far down, it hits a nerve, you'll bleed. So maybe that's something that they do. They chop it off until a point where they bleed. The turtles, maybe you have the hexagonal patterns. Maybe they carve some of those things out and replace them with piercings or rods or something like that. You have the sea elves that maybe have their fins ripped off or gills slit open further, maybe. And then you also have the Hadozi, maybe with their maybe they gave up their flight or their gliding wings to have tapered or ripped ones, or they're basically just a bunch of piercings in them as well. Would also be interesting. So, whew, Roland, happily playing a streamed one shot if you want to host it. That's so tempting, guys. This isn't the first one that we're gonna go for. We're gonna try to fit one more in here. But religion. Okay, so this is another one that we can look at. Is what do the gods look like? Is there gods in this world, and what do they look like, right? Are they walking the planet? Are they and influencing it, or they're just ignoring it, or are they non-existent, right? Maybe we could roll for that and see if we want to implement that. Okay, number 5. They're non-existent. They're non-existent. We kind of grew out of gods. We, as a Cumulonipolis, or as a society that's kind of extended more, we realized that a lot of the clerical power comes from more of the empowering of self. And reaching yourself to a higher being, and that the gods are not even there anymore. We figured out that they didn't exist. So pretty cool. So then we can skip monotheism. This next section kind of helps you with, if you did roll them, here are some domains that you can kind of assign if you wanted to do that. But we're going to skip ahead and go to magic. So obviously this is D&D. Magic is here. Magic is prevalent. So magic is either high or low in settings, and we can kind of see what's what. In low settings, obviously magic can be something that only a few people have. It could be, kind of like Harry Potter. It could be relatively new, where people are just trying to figure it out. But on average, low campaign settings, very few people have magic, as opposed to high magic, where it influences society as a whole. Everyone has it, everyone can access it, and people are trying to extend it further. So let's roll a d4 for this one. Roll a d4, so low. So you, as a party members, could be the only ones gifted with this magic. So maybe some of the stones have developed some of this. Maybe if you really wanted to focus on the splatterpunk essence of this stuff, maybe in trying to achieve grotesqueness in this world, only grotesque subclasses are allowed. So we're talking Undead Warlock, Oathbreaker Paladin, Death Cleric, Gloomstalker Ranger, right? These are the aesthetic powers that are granted to you through this special form of art and expression, and through this technology that you have. And I think that would be really interesting, where they're the only ones that exist. And as a DM, you can totally limit the subclasses and limit the abilities or things that you have in the campaign to create a mood or a result that you want. And I think that'd be really, really fun. So yeah, let's go with that. Okay. So also perspective. So this new magic that we have that's creating this art, how do we see it? What is this essence, right? So for example, if we roll a 4, it is a limited resource. Only a few people have found this secret, and you are among those few. So I don't know how you got it. Maybe you can kind of include your players in this as well. What do they want their backstory to be? How do they see that? How do they see that they were worthy or in a place where they received this gift of magic or was able to achieve this limited resource that is only shared with a few, right? Maybe they are tieflings that are among the higher class and are among this experimentative form of magic to create this new aesthetic, right? And trying to kind of the new season, if you will, the new season of clothing lines or piercings that they're going to implement to the world, and they are imbuing this stuff with magic. Maybe it's dangerous, maybe it's not, but it's a limited resource, and they're testing it for right now. Pretty cool. Patricius, the UN fighter, better have some healing potions handy. Don't make it a double. That'll ruin the aesthetic. Yeah. Yeah. And heck, you might, if a player maybe openly welcomes a wound, maybe they'll get a boon of magic. Maybe pain. Here's a good one, guys. Maybe pain is what brings on the magic. Maybe pain is what conjures magic within oneself. Maybe that's why it's so limited, is because only a few are willing to go that far and inflict pain on themselves enough to summon this magic out of them, which is pretty cool. And so if they're hurt enough, maybe that's what makes them level up, or maybe that's what gives them feats or extra boons or dark gifts that you can take from books like Ravenloft. Oh, that's so cool. I'm so glad I'm recording this on camera, because then I can look back at this. Okay, so that's kind of how we view things. Our conflicts and threats. So again, we have the AI, we have the art kind of mentality, we have the fitting in kind of conflict already. But maybe what else could there be on the higher end of things? Maybe on the first 1 to 10 levels, the players are kind of fighting against this societal pressure, trying to figure that out. But then on the higher levels, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's something you foreshadow for a long time. So let's see. Let's see if we get anything good. Roll a d20. We rolled a 16. I'm rolling really high, guys. A societal collapse. Guys, if that's not freaking perfect. Maybe in this this societal collapse, maybe when they push forward this new form of art, maybe this new form of expression, new form of clothing lines, either one, the people can push back and they don't like it. There's a societal collapse already. The one thing that's holding up the society, the art and the self-expression, people are fighting back. They don't like it. They don't want to change. That can cause some political societal collapse, because, hey, who's listening in? The cyberocracy, the AI. They're looking in. They're seeing a bunch of people not conforming. They're going to freak out. Or even before then, maybe the people are like, yeah, this is great. Let's do it. They forgot to update the AI. And now the AI is putting wanted posters for everyone who isn't using it. Or for everyone everyone who is using the new thing and is now not in line with the old thing. Now all of a sudden they're trying desperately to figure out the AI to turn it back, to make sure that people aren't dying left and right. But the wanted posters are already out. There's bounties on people's heads, and people want to collect. Whew. Guys, this is so cool. This is so freaking cool. Okay, one last one. Creatures. So obviously creatures are also a coming threat. We have aberrations, beasts, celestials, construct dragons, regular D&D things. So if we want to implement certain creatures, maybe as a BBEG, or just as something that kind of populate the majority of this area, this is where we roll. So rolling a d20, 17, animal folk. Animal folk, that makes sense, right? So with the animal folk, it's like humanoids, right? Other humanoids. So we already have the Hadazee, we already have the turtle folk and things like that. So maybe this world, besides like elves and sea elves, it's mostly animals. And the animal folk that are not conformed to this Ecumenopolis have escaped and are fighting back. And maybe when the societal collapse happens, they take advantage of this and come in and try to mess things up. And there's this rebellion, right? Which is also kind of cool. Because that makes sense, because a lot of people might not want to conform with this society, with this certain way of thinking, this certain way of expression. And with self-expression, obviously not everyone can conform the same way. Not everyone self-expresses the same way. So it's a beautiful way to kind of teach this almost lesson in this splatterpunk setting where you have creatures who won't conform to self-harm. Pretty interesting. Who won't conform to self-harm, so maybe they've hidden themselves either like under the city in certain parts of the jungle parks that are kind of out of the way, or again, maybe they've settled out in the middle of the ocean. And as Ecumenopolis, we really don't think to look out there. And so they've set out and kind of maybe have like a water world aesthetic, maybe like an ocean punk out there, where they have, they're kind of creating their own society outside and away from the peering eyes of the AI. Also really cool. So, James Floyd, welcome. We're just finishing up. I will kind of put in the chat again, or the text just to say what we have. Again, forgetting that to type in what we roll. So, no gods, we rolled. And then we have limited resource magic based on pain. And then we have the society collapse, threatening it, with animal folk dissenters on the ocean. Beautiful. And that's it, guys. That's it. That's our campaign. Beautifully done. We have it all set up, and that took us, what, a half an hour. We rolled, we put them together, and we created this campaign that, heck, I want to play real bad. And that I already have ideas spinning to make that happen. So just you find some players that think the idea is pretty cool, and you go for it. Cool. Cool. Hope you guys like it. Almost like the world reclaiming itself. Yeah, absolutely in a way. Absolutely. It's kind of a, almost the people reclaiming their self-expression is also a soliloquy, a parable for the nature reclaiming the Ecumenopolis. That's kind of beautiful. Okay, should we start again, guys? I'm gonna ask you guys' help now. So get out your dice. And we're going to roll. So I'm going to ask for a roll. And when I ask for a roll, it'll be the first number that I see. And then we'll kind of choose that going forward. Okay? So we're going to do it. We got like 15 minutes. We'll go through it quick. Okay? I'll delete this here. Oops. Come on. There we go. So I'll delete the chat or the words there. And we're going to go for it. So, genre. Let's see a number in the chat. It might be a little backed up. Vid Game Ways, I came just with the right time. You did. Except you missed a really cool campaign setting that we just rolled. But welcome. Glad to have you here now with the help. So we need a D12 in the chat. We need a number, a D12 in the chat. If we're gonna make these 15 minutes, we gotta go quick. D12 in the chat. Is everyone getting their dice? Does no one have one prepared? Does no one have a... There we go. We have an 11. All right. Sword and sorcery. It's good. Sword and sorcery. So we have basically a regular D&D campaign, which is a good exercise because now we can see how we can take the regular D&D setting, like a Forgotten Realms kind of aesthetic, and see how else we can change it. So good job. Genre. While I'm typing this in, I need a genre. So a D20, please. So we have our genre being a sword and sorcery. Okay. Sword and sorcery. And we have genre. D20 for me, please. D20. There we go. Who's got their dice? Okay, Patricia's the human fighter again with a 10. A diesel punk. Ooh, a diesel punk. Okay, all right. While we're kind of pulling that together, I need a D8 in the chat. A D8 in the chat, and then a D20. So we'll start with the D8, and I'll pick it out of the chat. But a sword and sorcery diesel punk, guys, that would be really, really interesting. Because again, diesel punk kind of takes from Mad Max, but it's also basically the aesthetic of large machines that basically run on fuel of oil and gasoline, essentially. 2, we have a supercontinent again. Okay, supercontinent. Maybe, actually, we're gonna, since we did that one already, let's do the next one is an 8. So broken planet or twin worlds. So basically 2 places at odds with each other. So that actually helps our kind of thought process, because maybe one of this half is stuck in magic. One of this half is stuck in magic, where this planet it's basically been hit by an asteroid, a chunk has flown off, but the magic kind of keeps it together. But the original place keeps its magic, and it's a sword and sorcery. They haven't had to resort to anything else, but their sword and sorcery campaign is just your regular D&D. But if you transport yourself to the other one, where it's connected maybe to a bridge or a portal or some sort, this place that is disconnected from this world has lost their magic. And they've had to resort to technology, and in essence, they've had to create these very diesel-like engine contraptions. Pretty cool. And maybe why they've made these contraptions might come in when we talk about the conflict. But it's cool that we have now a world with and a world without. Exactly, Roland. A Wizards versus Artificers campaign. How freaking cool is that? Wizards versus Artificers. Okay. All right, I need a D20. D20 for our biome. Let's see if we... in fact, maybe I'll pick the next 2 numbers. So with the biome, we'll have maybe 1 that maybe we'll look at to kind of implement in the sword and sorcery, and maybe 1 to kind of implement on the diesel punk side. Phil Kearney, hey, welcome to the chat, buddy. Welcome to the chat. Definitely something you'll have to look back, but we're in the middle of creating a campaign through a random roll table. Okay, so Patricia the Human Fighter, 18. Underwater. Okay, and then the other one is a 6 with freshwater lakes. We got a lot of water, guys. So, we got... Wow. We got basically a water world now. So a sword and sorcery campaign on one end that's basically all... what would fit better? Maybe you have to sail. Like, it's almost like a sail off the edge of the world in order to kind of sail across a suspended waterfall in order to get to the diesel punk place. And maybe the diesel punk, maybe the advantage that they have is the water kind of came off of that place onto the sword and sorcery place and has uncovered mines or veins of coal or oil, which then they're able to use for them. Where the water has kind of came onto the sword and sorcery part and has flooded the world. And a lot of it is underwater. That's also really cool. But if we wanted to switch it, obviously maybe they built these diesel engines in order to traverse the water well, and they made these like underwater bunkers, and while sword and sorcery are just kind of fine, and they have like more of the freshwater lakes on that end. Pretty cool. Yeah, Diesel Punk Submarines. Yeah. Vid Game Wiz and Robert Groenworld. Yeah, you guys got it. Absolutely. Okay. So let's do this then. World Age, I need a D6. World Age, I need a D6. Yeah, so cool. Maybe... no, we'll get to it like in culture and conflict, because maybe these two civilizations are at war. Maybe they're working together. Maybe they can't really traverse between them at all. They just know of each other, or stories that people have, somehow, some way made it here, from here to there. Maybe a lot of interested parties want to get there for their technology, or the diesel punk are trying to create engines that will push the this side of the planet back to its original place, to essentially push it through space and connect it back into its hole where it was left, which is also really cool. A planet mover diesel engine. Okay. All right. Oh, I see Robert Grunwald with the 1. Prehistoric. That is an interesting buy-in. Okay. So again, looking at that, I'm like, ooh, how's that going to work? We can make the age prehistoric, which kind of is in juxtaposition to the diesel punk kind of thing. But with the flooded world on one side, we can make the prehistoric just being the creatures that you find in the water. So like kind of like a Loch Ness Monster, right? Where you have prehistoric sea creatures in the water, and you get to play a lot with those types of animals, which I think would be pretty cool. Normally in prehistoric, like sword and sorcery campaigns, your magic comes from a lot of artifice as well, where you're doing stone tools and branch traps and working with stone wheels, essentially, right? Very Flintstones, right? Where you're kind of, it looks kind of modern, but you're using a lot of prehistoric things, which you can also tie in. So maybe we can tie in a little bit more later, but I'm going to say maybe we'll just stick with prehistoric animals and have that kind of be an aesthetic of the underwater, which is kind of cool. Ooh, yeah, kind of like Ponyo. I haven't seen that, but I know of it. So yeah, that's a great example. All right, D4 weather. We're not going to roll for like space stuff. Well, maybe we will. No, we'll just do a D4. Need another one. It says Plesiosaurus is extracting crude oil from the earth also unleashes spirits of long dead monsters. Phil Kearney, yes, heck yeah, that's fantastic. Maybe a part of that, them excavating the crude oil does unleash these prehistoric animals. So maybe it is ghosts of these creatures. Maybe it's the undead of these creatures. Maybe their steam engines look like prehistoric animals. Also pretty cool. And also with that, maybe with their science, or maybe even the magic on the other side of the sword and sorcery, maybe they are resurrecting these creatures. Also something to play with. Robert Grunwald, Plesiosaurus and Megalodon fill the ocean. Yes, thank you for those terms. Yes, I forgot the dinosaurs' names for a second, but thank you. Little wonder you need giant metal sips. Okay, so Benjamite with 2. Weather is harsh. Yeah, makes sense. It's a planet torn in two. You got a lot of planetary and weather. So it's normal weather, but very harsh, right? Harsh winds, harsh rain, harsh blizzards, etc. Okay, I need a D12 in the chat, please. Jerry Murray, definitely late, but Spheres of Power sounds perfect for the pain magic setting since magic... Yeah. Magic setting since magic with that system can be made. Spheres of Power, yeah. I mean, whatever you find inspiration for these things, it can go 1,000 different ways. Painful enough to cause saving throws, max HP loss, yep. Get stronger with the less HP you have. So much homebrew potential with it. Absolutely. Okay, Robert Grunwald with an 11. We have brown. Also fitting with like a diesel punk kind of setting. We have very brown things. This could be saying like the water is brown. Maybe the water is basically polluted with all of this water. Maybe it's only on one side of the planet where the sword and sorcery is like clean. It's clean water. All of the monsters live down there. In the area where it's diesel punk, all the water up there completely brown. It's infected. It's gross. It's polluted. It's something that kind of shows why magic is so important on the other side. Maybe. I also see a 1 where it's red, so we also can maybe have the color red to play with. And again, we didn't talk about the sun, but maybe the sun is red. Maybe the clouds or vapors in the sky is making the sun appear red, kind of like it does to the moon here on Earth. Have you seen like a blood moon or whatever? So maybe it's doing something like that to the atmosphere. So it's not scientific, or sorry, it's not naturally red, but maybe it looks red to certain viewers, which is also kind of cool. Okay, and then I need a just to see if we're on a different plane of existence. I need a D10 just to see if we want to implement it as well. D10. Maybe I should start having you guys roll and then explaining how we were kind of fitting it in. Oh, I've been forgetting to type this in. Okay, broken planet, oceanic. Prehistoric. Oop. Harsh weather. Brown and red. And then I see, okay, so and I see a 1 for the astral plane. Also pretty cool. So this might be a tie-in to like a Spelljammer kind of thing, which is also pretty cool. Astral plane, this could be a... Ooh, this might be fun. So the asteroid that hit the planet might have pushed it through the wild space out into the astral plane, where now nobody on this world needs to eat, drink, or sleep anymore because they're in the astral plane. And they're just a planet adrift with no sun. And it's a very dark planet. Again, the sky can be like a wispy pinks and purples of the astral plane, but ultimately it can be a lot darker with no sun, and aid to the what's the word? Aggressiveness? No. Aid to the desperation of the diesel punk area. Also pretty cool. And then while we have it, I see a 5. So let's see society. So I need a D12. A D12 while I type this in. So as an idea, we're just going to put astral plane. Not completely sold on the idea, but it's an option. So an astral plane. So a society. We need a D12. Jerry Murray, I like that idea. Yeah, good. Big Game says magic is the filter that people haven't figured out yet. Patricius, the world is remnants of an ancient sea god. We could implement that once we get to gods. Yeah, maybe we'll see what we get there. Robert Grunwald with a 6. Nice. So we have an aristocracy. Oh shoot, I forget what an aristocracy is. Forgive me. I'm not a government major. Okay, so it's a nobility. That's what I thought. So a nobility. So we have an aristocracy. Pretty cool. Oh, where'd you guys go? There you are. So if we have an aristocracy, again, we have we have nobles that we can play with. Actually, we can do 2. So maybe one is a republic and one is an aristocracy. One is run by nobles and one has a republic. So let's say the nobles keep in the sword and sorcery, right? They're a little bit less structured and more traditional when it comes to sword and sorcery games. So there's like a noble, a king, or a duke or a duchess, and then the republic is the diesel punk side. Also pretty cool. So aristocracy, republic. Okay, and then let's skip economy and go to culture. Let's do a D12. Trying to finish this up. D12. Yeah, and if you guys have any other like ideas of how to like tie this stuff in together, I feel like I'm the only one talking. I want to include you guys too. So, but at D12, we'll see what kind of culture focus that they have. So we have things like greater community, knowledge and stories, language, traditions, rituals, techniques and skills, tools and objects, the arts, military, food and drink, values, morality, religion, magic phenomena, agricultural, husbandry, hunting, things like that. So we have a 7. Again, the arts. Okay, we'll try something else. 10. So values, morality, and religion. Also kind of a juxtaposition that we can play with, where the traditionalists of the sword and sorcery are more about religion, and they have their own gods that they still pray to. And maybe they see the separation of magic and artifice as something God-willing. And they don't want these two to reconnect. So kind of like we're talking about, where the artifice is using this contraption to reconnect themselves with the world, maybe this group is not wanting that to happen, and with their magic, they're going to war with this people and saying like, oh, no, we don't want you guys to connect because the God has willed it so. The gods don't want us to be together. They want us separate. Also kind of really, really cool. So that's what their kind of society is based off of. Love it. Love it. Okay, so we're going to skip the races because, again, that'll be good. If you have that at home, you can roll it real quick and see what you guys can come up with. But we'll look at religion since we're on the topic, and I need a D6. I need a D6. Yeah, especially if the world is an old god. Yeah, it could be that the world is the god itself, and he separated himself in two. Maybe that's what they believe. Maybe that's what they believe, is that maybe the god, the world, has dissented the dark part of themselves and has shoved off that evil part, and that evil part is now this separate entity that he no longer holds, and so they see it as a good thing. And again, if that comes back, they are allowing the dark part to come back into their god, and they don't want that. We have a 5. So here we have non-existent. And then I see a 1. It could be walking the planet. It could be the planet, right? So again, we see non-existent. They could be non-existent. They still could be. But the denizens of the sword and sorcery don't believe that. But the ones on the other side, maybe they do. Maybe they realize that the gods don't exist, or that they don't believe the gods exist anymore because of the dissension. And so, yeah, that would be that's a really cool dynamic. Maybe each side blames each other for the state of the world. Yeah, absolutely. And they value their individual values as opposed to the other group. Yes. Possibly when the planet was sent into the astral plane, the previous Dieselpunk society is in ruins, and that could explain the prehistoric element. Oh, so they're kind of like set back into prehistoric times. Yeah, absolutely. This could be explaining the entire history of your world. That's a fantastic ad, Yasinator. Absolutely. Allow this to build the history of your world. Okay. God, I'm going to put God world here. And then religion as the culture. Whoops. I can type religion as the culture. Okay. We're almost done, guys. We're almost done. So no gods. We're gonna skip ahead to the perspective on magic. I'm just gonna roll a d4 just to see. We got a 1, so high magic makes sense. But again, only on one side of the world. We need a d6. We need a d6 for the perspective on magic. Again, we kind of know that what the Dieselpunk's perspective is. They hate it. They don't have it. It's not even there, right? So maybe we'll see what our community here looks at on the sword and sorcery side. Are these roll tables available everywhere? No. They sound fantastic to spend some time on rolling on. They are mine. They are something that I could put together on my monthly magazine. So if you guys go to my website, it is on there that you can purchase. Link in the description. Or if you go to my Patreon, all my Patreons get my monthly magazine, this magazine, for their subscription, among a lot of other things. So you can go to Patreon and support me in that way, and then you'll be getting things like this every single month. So we have this one here. We got one this month for Spelljammer, and we have like a Wild Space roll table and things like that you can use. And then this next month we have kind of something spooky coming up for the month of October, which you guys can do as well. But again, links in the description for both Patreon and my website. But thanks for asking. Matt C, punished by the god. Yes. Yep. Okay, we have a 2. So scientific progress. Interesting. Scientific progress. So this makes sense because the Dieselpunks see progress as something as their progress being mechanical is their scientific, where the sword and sorcery denies that and says that the progress needs to be made through magic. And maybe that's why the other planet or this part of the world dissented. Maybe it's the artifice. Maybe it's the practice of artifice that they saw as bad. And that's why they saw that they thought that the god got rid of that part, because the real scientific progress is in magic itself. And anything other than that is unworthy, is hearsay or heresy, and is forbidden. So maybe on this part of the world, artifice is forbidden. You cannot participate in artifice, which is also pretty interesting. Okay, so science, magic. Okay, D20, guys, D20. And since they're both the D20s, I'm going to ask for 2 numbers. So roll a D20, and I'm going to pick the next 2 numbers for our conflict and the creature that might be populating this area. Pretty cool. Conflict and creature. Let's see what we got, guys. Okay, we got an 18. Theistic Substitution. This is fantastic. Oh, wow. This is fantastic. So, Theistic Substitution is basically one god being replaced with another. So, again, we're talking maybe large-scale conflict. Maybe this god who has gotten rid of their part of self to this other chunk of the planet where the diesel punk is, maybe in the latter parts, or in realizing that the diesel punk is putting themselves back, that this part of themselves has grown stronger. And when reconnecting, this part doesn't combine again with the god. This god replaces the other god, which is more terrifying for the people on the sword and sorcery part, in realizing that their god is at risk now. That now there, instead of one god, there is 2. And this one's in danger if this one is put back. Love it. Love it. Okay, so then we have another 18 for this one. So we have a new and unknown creature. Or we can go plants as a creature. Maybe we'll do 2 just to kind of brainstorm. Plants being underwater, you got a lot to play with. Excuse me, with deep sea plants. Plants, like kelp and seaweed and sea anemone and sea cucumbers and coral reefs and things like that. Maybe you make a bunch of monsters, and maybe that's what populates a lot of this area is plants. Living plants of underwater that threatens people who are traveling to and from these 2 places, or just traversing one plane or another. And then new and unknown creatures. Again, kind of like what Phil Carney was saying, maybe in digging up all of this oil and resources and coal, maybe some creatures are unleashed onto the world, and now it's something new, it's something unknown. I kind of think like Fern Gully with like the ooze, kind of like the black ooze kind of creature that kind of comes out, and he's just the manifestation of like oil and grime and destruction of nature. Maybe things like that, where the oil itself that they're pulling up are just oozes. Also pretty cool. So yeah, so guys, well done, well done. Again, this is my the Higher Powers magazine. You can here is the cover that you can see. Again, you can find it on my website, and then you can also get it on my Patreon. Again, all of my Patreon members have gotten this months ago. This one specifically is no longer on my Patreon. I should clarify this one specifically, but this one is on my Patreon. And then of course, you can get the space one on my Patreon right now. Actually, no, you can get both. You can get both. If you do sign on my Patreon, you will get both, because both of them are on there. So you get this month's and the previous month's, which is this one. I'm getting ahead of myself. But at the end of this month, this will no longer be on my Patreon, and you can only access it on my website. So there's something. Oh shoot, I forgot. Science magic. What'd I miss? Science magic. Conflict was theistic substitution, and plants, oozes, right? Yeah, there you go. So go have fun with this, guys. Go have fun. Make some cool things. I think that we ourselves have really made some really cool stuff. If I'm being honest, like, my favorite was the first one that we created, was kind of the Splatterpunk. I was a little nervous with the Splatterpunk. Not really my aesthetic personally, but we kind of really created a really unique setting for it. And then as well, we created a really fun, unique setting on the latter half where we kind of did it with chat. And I'm just excited. If you do end up using this, let me know what you come up with. Maybe in the comments or email me or something. I would love to know what you guys rolled up and what you guys made. My goodness, I think that would be so fun. I don't think anyone would take what we made today and make it a campaign, but if you do, also let me know. But anyways, I've gone on over too long. I just thank you guys again for all the help today. So factories within massive coral reefs. Yeah. Wasn't one of the colors red? We did roll on a red table, so maybe a lot of red algae is also a great thing. And then Jerry Murray says, hey, look at that. I got 3 new PDFs to check out now. Yes, you do. Again, thank you guys. Okay, well, go check those out. Tell me what you come up with. Again, continue on the exploration of creativity. But in the meantime, go out there and spread the good word of D&D and make the world a better place, both on and off your tables. See you in the next